Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to consider the proposed budget of the Office of the President.
There is a motion to now consider in the budget deliberations the Office of the President. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Withdraw my motion. Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my motion. I direct the Secretary General to read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill.
House Bill number 10800, an act appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2025.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to resume the consideration of House Bill 10800.
Again, are there any objections? The Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I now move the consideration of the proposed budget of the Office of the President.
There is a motion to approve in consideration of the budget of the Office of the President. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge the presence of the heads of the and officials of the Office of the President, namely Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Yusek Leonardo Roy Cervantes, Yusek Al-Azre Moham Dalsali, Undersecretary Adrian Carlo Bersamin, and Assistant Executive Secretary Cynthia Vergara. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We are privileged to have with us our former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and one of the stalwarts in the North, no less than the Executive Secretary himself. In behalf of the President of the Republic of the Philippines, let us all welcome Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin. And to all the guests of the Office of the President, we welcome you here in this budget deliberation. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to recognize Representative Toby Chanco of the Lone District of Navotas, Vice Chairman of the Committee of Appropriations, to answer questions on the proposed budget of the Office of the President.
The debonair Congressman from Navotas, Vice Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Congressman Tiangco, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues in this chamber, this representation is honored and privileged to sponsor the budget proposal of the Office of the President for fiscal year 2025. The presence here today of the Honorable Executive Secretary and of the senior officials of the Office of the President manifests the continuing cooperation between our branches in upholding our mutual objective of promoting the welfare of our people and the country's interests. The budget proposal of the Office of the President, which have been crafted within the parameters and process set by the appropriate government agency, is 1.88% lower than its previous year's budget. This is a testament that the President recognizes the need to deliver services to the people prudently and economically. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the President, as the policy center of the government, supports the President in fulfilling his constitutional duties as head of state and of government, as chief architect of the Philippine foreign policy, and as Commander-in-Chief. Thus, it is only fitting that we complement the same by providing the necessary budget for the President to fulfill his sacred mandate for the people whom we are all accountable to. It is worth noting that the Office of the President has proven that the budget allocated for its programs, activities, and projects has been utilized responsibly with utmost accountability, as evidenced by the unmodified opinion it received from the Commission on Audit on its funding utilization in the past years. The public opinion for the President's delivery of his mandate would likewise show that despite the meager portion of the budget provided for the Office of the President, a mere 1/9 of 1% of the total national budget, the President was able to make a difference that was positively felt by the people whom we represent. Despite the reduction of the proposed budget of the Office of the President for fiscal year 2025, the President, through the Executive Secretary, assures us that the same will not affect the delivery of services of the President to the people. More money does not always mean more services or better performance. With the Bagong Pilipinas brand of governance espoused by the President, this chamber is assured that the President is always mindful of the need to fulfill his constitutional mandate with less financial requirement but with the same quality results. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, as the President values the cooperation between our branches in the fulfillment of our common goal of development, it is but appropriate for us to likewise show our support to a presidency that constantly advances the interests of our nation and strives to deliver good government services for the good of our people. Hence, this representation, along with my co-sponsors, humbly endorses the budget of the Office of the President for fiscal year 2025 for consideration of the plenary. We earnestly hope that this sponsorship will merit the approval of this august chamber. With that, Mr. Speaker, we are now ready to take questions from the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Tiangco, the Vice Chair defending the Office of the President. And with him, I can see the Vice Chair's representatives, Ching Bernos and Vice Chair Representative Mitch Kahayon Uy. Thank you, and for supporting the Office of the President's budget. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize for her interpellation Representative Franz Castro of ACT Teachers Party List.
The ACT Teachers Party List, Representatives Franz Castro, you have 30 minutes. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, sa ating distinguished sponsor. At syempre po from the Office of the President, our Executive Secretary Bersamin, magandang hapon po sa inyo. So ito pong mga tanong ko po, no, ilan po doon sa mga hindi natin natalakay noong budget briefing ng Office of the President. Okay, so tama po ba na yung mga purpose fund, yung mga special purpose fund, at saka yung mga unprogrammed appropriations, mga contingency fund, ay dumadaan po sa approval ng ating presidente?
Ang unang-una po, ang unprogrammed appropriations, hindi po yan dumadaan sa Office of the President dahil meron po tayong mga provisions doon po sa GAA na nakasulat kung saan po pwedeng gamitin yung unprogrammed appropriations. So yung unprogrammed appropriations, meron pong prioritization dyan at nakasulat po yan doon sa ating NEP at nakasulat din po sa General Appropriations Act. So hindi ko na po babasahin para hindi po maubos ang oras ng ating interpellator.
Apo,
no?
tama po, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Pero siyempre po, ang lahat po ng mga appropriations, no, pag meron na po tayong GAA, so lahat po yan ay dumadaan sa DBM. So ang ibig bang sabihin, DBM lang po yung nagpapasya doon sa, lalong-lalo na po yung mga lump sum, katulad ng contingent at saka iba pa po.
Okay. Yung pong, unahin po natin, yung unprogrammed appropriations, wala pong discretionary authority po dyan. Dahil po maliwanag po dito sa special provisions ng ating NEP at ng ating GAA kung ano po yung prioritization kung sakali pong magkaroon ng dagdag na pondo. No? Pagdating naman po sa contingent funds, maliwanag po, nakasulat po dito, release of funds shall be made directly to the agencies concerned, except for GOCCs and LGUs, which shall be made through the Bureau of Treasury, subject to the approval of the President of the Philippines. So yun lang po ang dumadaan sa approval ng President of the Philippines, yun pong contingent fund, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
thank you po, no. Balik po ako dun sa unprogrammed appropriations. Kasi po, experience natin nung last year, especially ngayong 2024 na budget, Mr. Speaker, kasi hindi ba pag nagkakaroon na tayo ng GAA or na-approve na po yung GAA ng 2025. So yung last say po for B2 Power ay nandoon sa presidente. Like for example, kaya nga po may mga veto power, mga line item sa budget. So ang role po ng presidente, hindi po siya nagbibito ng the whole law, di ba? Tama po, nasa ano natin yan, nasa constitution natin. Yung halimbawa, yung mga taxes, ito po yung GAA, ang malaki po yung role ng ating presidente, no? Pwede siyang magbito ng parts, yung veto power niya. Kaya nga po, kung meron po tayong mga pagkakagastusan o meron tayong nakalagay sa ating GAA na hindi siya itemized, well, tinatanggalan natin yung ating presidente ng kanyang veto power. Kasi kung hindi niya alam yung mga itemized na mga expenses dito sa GAA, paano niya po yun ma-veto? Kasi yun ang right, di ba? Yun ang right, special right ng president. So magbito siya kung meron siyang tingin niya yung itemized na mga provision or kahit na po special provision yan o general provision, may power po ang ating presidente na mavito. Tama po ba, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, yung pong program appropriations in itself is a line item kasi po itemized po yung mga budget na nahandoon.
Yes, tama.
Mr. Speaker.
Tama po, Mr. Speaker. Kaya nga, ang sinasabi ko po kasi, ang kapangyarihan, wag natin tanggalin ito no, doon sa kapangyarihan ng presidente. Kaya nga po, Mr. Speaker, sinasabi ko po dito, yung GAA ay lagi nating ina-itemize yan. No, hindi pwedeng secret or hindi pwedeng kahit nga po yung lamsam, di ba? Ay inaanuhan din natin, nilalagyan din ng item. Kasi kung merong mga item na tingin ng presidente ay hindi pa pwedeng ponduhan or whatever, ay ibivito niya. Tama?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Speaker, agree po. The reason for the line item budgeting is for the line item veto
By
of the President,
Yes,
Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Kaya po dito, balik po ako sa unprogrammed appropriations, Mr. Speaker. Although itemized yan, pero ang nakalagay dito, Mr. Speaker, yung provisions on the amounts under the unprogrammed appropriation, nagkakaroon kasi, Mr. Speaker, ng pagbabago sa wording sa 2025 NEP. Babasahin ko lang po, Mr. Speaker, kasi baka etong line item na ito, gusto ring i-review later on ng presidente. Depende kung ano po yung mapa-final sa BICAM. So, amounts under the unprogrammed appropriations, the DBM is hereby authorized to approve the following. Letter A, modification of amounts within the authorized purposes. And letter B, the amounts under the purpose of unprogrammed appropriations except the budgetary support to GOCC and the support to foreign assisted project as additional appropriations to cover deficiencies in the amount authorized in any of the purpose under the unprogrammed appropriations. So, ang nangyari po kasi dito, dito po sa ngayon na nasa GAA po no, na 2024. Amounts under, number 8, amounts under the unprogrammed appropriation, the DBM is hereby authorized to approve the following: use of the appropriations within the authorized purposes and the use of appropriations under the purpose except the budgetary to cover deficiencies in the amount authorized in any of the purpose under the unprogrammed appropriation. So ang tanong ko po, Mr. Speaker, sa ilalim po ng GAA 2024 unprogrammed provision number 15, nakalagay authorized ang DBM na mag-approve ng modification ng amounts within authorized purposes. And number 2, use of amounts under the purpose of UA bilang additional appropriations. So, sa NEP po ng 2025, number 8, unprogrammed appropriations, nakalagay dito, Mr. Speaker, nakalagay rin ang pwedeng mag-approve ang DBM na mga paggamit ng appropriations under the purpose of the UA to cover the deficiencies in the amount authorized in any of the purposes under the UA. So dito po, Mr. Speaker, nagkakaroon ng modification. So ang tanong ko po, Mr. Speaker, sino po yung nagpapasya, halimbawa, ng mga modification ng amounts? Halimbawa po, under the UA, nandoon yung HEA, nandoon po yung support natin para sa 4P, yung pabahay po. So, pwede po bang gawin ng DBM, halimbawa po, at papayagan po ba ng Presidente na i-modify niya yung amount?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Under the special provisions, maliwanag po na amounts under the unprogrammed appropriations, the DBM is hereby authorized to approve modification, letter A, modifications of amounts within the authorized purposes. So pwede po siya basta authorized po ng Kongreso yung purposes. Mr. Speaker.
Hindi, tapos na po yung Mr. Chair. That period, tapos na po yung Kongreso doon. So ito yung mga UA, katulad nga na sinabi ko pong example, halimbawa po yung HEA, nandoon sa unprogrammed yung gratuity. So pwede po bang gawin ng DBM na halimbawa yung budget para sa gratuity ay 5B. Tapos yung sa HEA po ay 4B. Eh nagkulang po yung sa HEA. Pwede po bang ipalit?
Pwede.
Or idagdag na ang certain amount from one purpose to another purpose ng DBM? Papayagan po ba yon ng Presidente?
Mr. Speaker, yan po ang nakasaad po doon sa GAA na pinapayagan. So dahil po yan po ay pinapayagan sa GAA, yan po ay valid delegation authorized by Congress, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
At meron pong dalawang test dyan, no?
Sige
Yeah.
po. Mr. Speaker, tingin ko po mali. At yan ang nilagay ng bicameral committee noong 2024. So hindi po pwedeng bago-baguhin ng DBM ang amount whether it is regular or UA. Wala siyang kapangyarihan doon, no? Unless may authorization siya from the President at mavito yung iba. So tingin ko, Mr. Speaker, ito, sinasabi lang natin ito, Mr. Speaker, para pagdating ng bicameral ay mabago itong provision na ito na yung kapangyarihan ng DBM ay dapat ay hindi siya yung magpapasya, yung Presidente. Tinatanggalan natin ng kapangyarihan yung Presidente dito, 'di ba? So kailangan may authorization. Hindi pwedeng DBM lang yung magpapasya at hindi pwedeng kasi nanggagaling sa Kongreso yung items at saka yung amount at hindi pwede nating baguhin 'yan sa implementation. Tama po ba?
Mr. Speaker, yan po ay legislative prerogative, no? Ibig sabihin po, kung magdesisyon po ang Kongreso na palitan o tanggalin tong provision na to, basta't po pumayag po ang mayorya ng Kongreso, pwede naman pong palitan o tanggalin itong provision na ito, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, tama po, Mr. Speaker. Kaya isa po sa amendments natin, yung modification ng amounts, hindi pwedeng gawin yan ng DBM na siya lang. Kung meron siyang authorization, dapat nanggagaling sa Kongreso o nanggagaling sa Presidente. So yun po.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sa tamang panahon po ay pwede po yan i-propose ng ating dear colleague Congresswoman Franz Castro at yan po ay tatalakayin ng ating Committee on Appropriations, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Thank you po, Mr. Speaker. At nasiyahan po ako doon sa sagot ng ating distinguished sponsor. Doon na lang po sa last second topic ko, yung sa confidential funds. Kasi through the years, Mr. Speaker, kahit sa panahon ng dating administrasyong Duterte, siya po yung nagpauso Siya kasi yung nagpauso ng pinalobo niyang masyado yung confidential funds and intelligence funds ng Office of the President na I'm sorry to say na sinundan naman ng ating kasalukuyang presidente. So, sa nakaraan naman po, dinidisclose naman po saan gagamitin ng presidente yung kanyang confidential and intelligence. At least, yung mga purposes, yung kanyang program, projects, and activities. Wala namang masama doon, di ba? So, kung gustong kumuha ng mga may confidential information na kukuhanin, kaya lang po, ang ano lang po natin dito ay masyadong tumaas. So, pwede bang i-disclose ng ating kagalang-galang na sponsor, Mr. Speaker, saan po ito gagamitin ng mga, at least yung mga programs and projects po ng ating Office of the President?
Mr. Speaker, unang-una ho, hindi po tumaas from the previous year yung ating Confidential Intelligence Fund. Ito po ay nanatiling pareho no,
Tama.
noong nakaraang taon. At yung pong pinanggagamitan po nito ay mga opisina na tulad ng pag-conduct ng Presidential Situation Room, National AML CFT Coordination Committee o NACC, National Cyber Security Interagency Committee, People Center on Transnational Crime, PCTC, Anti-Terrorism Council Project Management Center, National Maritime Center, Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission. So yan po ang ilan sa mga pinagagamitan. Nahandito rin po yung ating mga ahensya na nangangailangan ng mga intelligence sources at confidential sources po. So yun lang po ang mabibigay natin. Pero yung mismong pinagamitan, pasensya na po Mr. Speaker, we cannot really disclose by the very nature of the fund, talagang confidential po ang pinagagamitan programa. Pero yan po ay dumadaan sa proseso. Hindi lang po yan basta ginagastos, meron pong prosesong pinagdadaanan at yan po ay ino-audit din po ng COA. So yan po ang kasiguraduhan na maayos po ang paggastos ng ating confidential at intelligence fund, Mr. Speaker, dear colleague.
Okay, marami pong salamat. Hindi naman po hindi naman po confidential yung mga programs and projects and activities na pinanggagamitan ng confidential funds. Well, ito lang po mula po nung sinasabi ko nga po, hindi po nagbago, 13 billion pa rin. Po 4.56 billion po combined CIF, combined confidential and intelligence funds.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
So ito po ba lahat ay nayu-utilize?
Mr. Speaker, as of June, ang release out of the 2.25 billion confidential funds, ang na-utilize, ang obligated po is 562,500,000 and out of the 2,310,000,000 intelligence funds, ang na-utilize po ay 600 million po. At ang na-disburse po ay yung same amount po na yan. So ang na-disburse namin po is 562,500,000 na confidential funds at 600 million na intelligence funds, Mr. Speaker, dear colleague.
Mr. Speaker, kung titignan natin yung utilization, medyo maliit. Ngayon ay considering fourth quarter na. So may mga natitira pa po ba na mga CI confidential and intelligence funds sa mga nakaraan, like yung 2022, 2023? Meron pa po bang natitira?
For 2023 po ang tanong po ng ating dear colleague. 2020. Mr. Speaker, fully utilized na po ang 2023 CIF na 4.560 billion. Mr. Speaker, dear colleague.
Okay. So yung 2024 ay isang quarter na lang po. Well, kaya ko po tinatanong ito, Mr. Speaker, dahil syempre gusto kong humirit ng additional na mga budget sa ibang mga mas yung mga social services. Iba pang mga dapat na paglagyan po ng budget. Kasi through the years po, Mr. Speaker, kagaya na sinabi ko, mula noong 2020, ang confidential funds and intelligence funds under the Office of the President ay nananatiling ganon yung amount. Okay? So, hindi po ba ito gagawing paano na lang po natin masasabing iba ang Marcos administration doon sa Duterte administration kung ganito pa rin po yung sinusundan niya yung ganitong klase ng considering, Mr. Speaker, ang Office of the President ay iba naman yung function niya, no? Wala naman siyang data gathering, confidential information gathering function katulad ng OVP. Okay? Baka dapat pong pag-isipan kasi sa mga nakaraan naman ng mga presidente, no, bago ang Duterte administration, maliit lang po, no, or millions lang po, hindi billions ang confidential and intelligence fund. Baka ang iniisip ko po, baka pwedeng magbago, di ba? Babaguhin itong mga amount na to. Maaring pag-isipan.
Mrs. Speaker, alam po natin ang concern ng ating dear colleague na si Congresswoman Franz Castro at nabanggit niya po yung social services, no? Siguro naman po maliwanag po sa ating lahat at hindi po sa ating lahat na nandito kundi pati sa ating mga kababayan na ang social services ay talagang priority nitong administrasyon na to dahil kukumparahin natin ang social services na naibibigay dito sa ating administrasyon ni President Bongbong Marcos sa ibang administrasyon. Siguro ngayon lang po natin masasabi na talagang pinakamarami ang ating social services, no? Halimbawa po, yung ating MAIP, alam naman natin na ngayon nakakapag-grant na tayo ng malalaking halaga. At yung ibang mga social services tulad ng AKAP, wala naman po yan dati, na marami tayong natutulungan.
Pero hindi po
yung-
confidential and intelligence fund ang ginagamit dyan.
Yes po. Ang sinasabi ko lang po ay yung sagot po sa inyong katanungan na kung pwedeng bawasan yung intelligence funds at yung CIF para mapapunta sa social services. Ang tinutukoy ko lang po, dear colleague, ay hindi naman po kailangan bawasan yung CIF para po makapagbigay tayo ng social services. So kahit po manatili yung ating budget ng CIF ng 4.56 billion, hindi po masasakripisyo at tuloy-tuloy po ang pagbigay natin ng social services at dadamihan pa po yung ating social services. Yan po ang assurance po natin sa ating dear colleague, Mr. Speaker.
Pero sinasabi ko rin din po na Mr. Speaker na hindi rin, katulad ng OVP, hindi rin mandato ng Office of the President yung pag-gather ng mga intelligence or confidential, yung mga confidential information. Hindi rin trabaho ng Office of the President yung magbigay ng mga rewards, mag-gather ng mga information or yung mag-rent ng mga safe houses. Katulad po ng ginawa natin sa OBP, no, yung sinubmit sa atin. So hindi po yan trabaho at pwede po yan ibigay doon sa ibang agency, security agency at dapat malaking amount din dyan na maibigay doon sa mga dagdag sa ating mga social services. So yun lang po, Mr. Speaker. Okay na po ako doon. Yung last na lang po, Mr. Speaker, on foreign policy. Mr. Speaker, very concerning yung pagdikit ng gobyerno sa US sa kabila ng tumitinding girian sa West Philippine Sea. Yung pagdami ng EDCA bases, balikatan exercises, war-provoking missile system sa Ilocos Norte, tapos yung agreement for cooperation in peaceful uses of nuclear energy or yung 123 agreement, parang ready for war ang gobyerno. Tila ginagawang playground ang ating bansa para sa mga sa foreign military. Ang sinasabi ng presidente, ang foreign policy daw niya ay grounded on peace. Bakit kabaliktaran naman ang ginagawa sa ngayon, Mr. Speaker? Is the US and the Philippines preparing for war with China? Kasi alam natin ang presidente po ay architect of foreign policy. Kaya ang tanong ko po, are we gearing for war to any other countries or like China sa ganito pong nangyayaring sitwasyon?
Mr. Speaker, dear colleague, maliwanag po, lagi pong sinasabi ng Presidente, isa lang po ang kanyang linyang ginagamit po dyan. We are friends to all and enemy to none. So, siguro na po, wala na pong mas maayos na paliwanag po dyan kung bakit hindi tayo dapat mangamba na tayo ay pupunta sa giyera. Dahil lahat po ng diplomatikong paraan para ma-avoid po ang conflict ay ginagawa po. So, yun lang po ang pinakamaliwanag na paliwanag po dyan, Mr. Speaker, dear colleague.
Okay, so I hope po hindi wala tayong mga provocation at hindi tayo makaladkad ng US doon sa kanyang war sa maybe in China and other countries. And for my
Definitely
last
not, Mr. Speaker. Nakita naman po natin doon sa demeanor ng ating presidente, he is a very peace-loving and patient person, Mr. Speaker, dear colleague.
Yes, for my last manifestation, Mr. Speaker, nanindigan po ang Office of the President na for peace siya. But again, para sa amin po, kabaliktaran ang ipinapakita dahil kamakailan lang, sabi ng AFP Chief General Romeo Browner Jr., gusto pa ng gobyerno na bumili ng US-made Typhoon Mid-Range Capability o yung MRC missile system. Malayo ang kayang abutin ng missile system na ito at kayang mag-target ng ibang bansa. Nauna na rin itong pinwesto sa Ilocos Norte noong nakaraan, kaya pinapakita ng gobyerno hindi independent foreign policy ang gusto nito, pero ipursu kundi war provocations with the US. This maritime dispute can be solved through a political and diplomatic approach. At bandang huli po, sana po, wag tayong magpakatuta sa US. Yun lang po, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat.
Definitely po.
Thank you.
We can assure our dear colleague na hindi po tayo magpapakatuta sa US, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much to our dear colleague.
Thank you very much, the Teachers Party List, Representative Castro, for your interpellation. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to recognize Representative Paul Daza of the First
The
Representative.
Senior Minority Leader Paul Daza is here recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon to all our colleagues. Will the sponsor just yield to two quick questions, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, it's my honor, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in a situation where, for example, a GOCC or a department has implementation issues because of another department. Just to give a specific example, DOTR has a port project, it's funded, but it's 1 year, 2 years delayed because DNR hasn't issued the necessary clearances permits. So in an interdepartment, interagency implementation issues, it's funded. Would that be within the scope of the Office of the Executive Secretary to now come in and maybe find a solution to fast-track the project?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, dear colleague, the intervention is within the Office of the Executive Secretary, Mr. Speaker.
So may I ask, Mr. Speaker, if, let's say, governors, mayors, in Region 8, we have at least 3 projects funded by DOTR PPA, but has been pending because DNR has unnecessarily delayed the clearances permitting process, even though we already have the anti-red tape, ease of doing business. But it's not a legislative issue, but it's an executive implementation issue. Would the right procedure be to have the governor, the mayors who want to continue the project, to write the Office of the President and attention the Executive Secretary, what's the process and what would be the action taken by the Office of the President or the Office of the Executive Secretary?
Mr. Speaker, of course, after exhausting all remedies between the departments and still the departments would not cooperate, it would just be proper for the official to write the Office of the President through the Executive Secretary for an intervention so that whatever is holding up the project will be solved between the two departments. Mr.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for the response. My second question and my last question is, we have empowered the public to file complaints through the 888 number. My question, Mr. Speaker, is, my recollection is that public complaint hotline was under the Office of the President or the Office of the Executive Secretary. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
And, Mr. Speaker, I think that's a good service to the public. Has the Office of the President continued to support the, I believe, 8888 number?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the Office of the President, through the Executive Secretary, has continued to support this program.
And Mr. Speaker, is that sufficiently funded for 2025?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to thank the Executive Secretary and the other officials for their presence here today in the House of Representatives. We'd like to commend the Honorable Chanco for his sponsorship of the budget, and having no more members of the minority who wishes to propound questions, I move to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate for the budget of the Office of the President.
Thank you, Minority Leader, Senior Minority Leader, Congressman Paul Daza, on the behalf of the majority. What say you?
Mr. Speaker, on part of the majority, we join the minority in the motion to terminate the interpellations on the proposed budget of the Office of the President.
There is a joint motion to terminate the interpellations on the proposed budget of the Office of the President. Is there any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the interpellations on the proposed budget of the Office of the President is hereby terminated. Session suspended.